Hello. A quick disclosure before we get started. This project will not work unless you have an output license for Hog4PC or etc Nomad. If you try to do this project without an output license, it will not work and you will be disappointed. Hello. My name is Jeremy Mayo, and welcome to my new free video training series. A bit about myself: I'm an MFA candidate in lighting design at the University of Cincinnati, as well as a freelance designer, programmer, electrician, systems integrator, and lighting artist. I wanted to start making these videos because I noticed some topics I deal with a lot in lighting that people might be unfamiliar with or might have trouble understanding. As always, these videos are free, though if you like the content, please consider donating via the links soon to come on my website. Today, we're going to be talking about connecting Hog4PC to GrandMA2onPC and MA3D. Now, why you might want to do this, admittedly it is probably a limited use case scenario, though for example, perhaps somebody has a very nice rig they have built out in MA3D, and you want to go ahead and program with it, but you're a Hog programmer. So instead of redoing that in another visualizer, you can just create a show file for yourself on Hog4PC and hook right up. Now, before we get started, a couple assumptions and givens we're going to be working with. We are using GrandMA version 3.8, as well as MA3D version 3.8 as well. We are using the latest version of Hog4PC as of April 3rd, 2020. We are also on the Windows operating system, Windows 10 to be specific. Now, before we get started, with any of the actual lighting software, we're going to go ahead and need to change some network settings on our computer. So the first thing we're going to do is add a virtual network adapter. Now, the way we do that is we open up the device manager on Windows, and the easiest way for us to do that is to right-click on the Start menu icon in Windows 10, which you won't be able to see on my screen because it's hidden behind the banner. We're going to go up and click Device Manager. Give that a second to open up. Now in here, we want to go to Network Adapters. You need to click here so it's highlighted. You'll go up to Action, Add Legacy Hardware. In here you'll get a dialog box, you'll click through and hit Next. And what we want is to install the hardware that I manually select from a list. We'll hit Next again. We need to scroll back down until we find Network Adapters. Next again. We're going to scroll down to Microsoft. We're going to scroll down until we see under Model the Microsoft KM Test Loopback Adapter. We'll select that and we'll hit Next. We'll hit Next again, and it's finished installing. If you've watched my video about connecting etc Nomad to MA3D, this is the exact same process, and overall the process is incredibly similar. So now that we have this virtual network adapter installed, we need to go and configure it in our network properties. The way I'm going to get there is in the bottom right hand corner of my screen. I'm going to click down here on the small network icon, which apologies you won't be able to see, and I'm going to open Network and Internet Settings. You can get here from the Start menu and a couple other places, but this is the window that you're looking for. In this window, we're going to go to Change Adapter Options. Now, here is where we have all of the network interfaces listed that my computer is using. You may have more than this, less than this, same amount, and they're going to have different names, most likely. So here, I see that I have my Microsoft KM Test Loopback Adapter. This is the one we just added. Its name is Ethernet 2. We're going to right-click and rename this, so it's easier for us to reference. We're going to call it Loopback. Now we're going to configure this by right-clicking again, going down to Properties, and in this window we need to go down to Internet Protocol version 4, IPv4, and hit Properties again. Now we are going to change this to use a static IP address. We're going to use the following IP information. We're going to set the IP to be 10.0.0.100. We'll change the subnet mask to be 255.255.0.0, and we'll make the default gateway 10.0.0.1. We'll go ahead and hit OK. Now that's all done, we can close out of here. Now we want to make sure that this is the only network adapter that our computer is using. Right now I have these both enabled, so I'm still able to connect to the internet, though that's not what we want. We don't want our lighting software to be referencing any other network adapter except our loopback adapter. So we're going to go ahead and right-click any other adapters you might have that are blue, they're lit up, and they're not grayed out like this. And you're going to right-click and hit Disable. Now this does mean you won't be able to access the internet until you re-enable this. So remember, when you're finished working with your product, if you have trouble connecting to the internet, this is probably why, because you turned it off. It's also very important to note you should not turn this back on while you are working. Some lighting softwares won't mind if there's a new network interface connected, though it's highly likely that you're going to crash Hog4PC if you turn this back on while you're working. Now that these are all disabled except for our loopback adapter, we can close out of here and start working with our lighting software. I'm going to start on the GrandMA side of things for this video, so I'm going to go ahead and open up my GrandMA2onPC software. I'm going to go ahead and just start a completely fresh show for you guys. Great. Now, we need to set up a network session on GrandMA2 4PC. So we're going to go to Setup and go to MA Network Control. Now here, we're going to create a new session. Before you start, you want to make sure that it's going to be using the IP that we just set on our loopback adapter, which is that 10.0.0.100. It's highlighted yellow here, which means that's correct. If that's not highlighted, it should be one of your other options. Just make sure that's the one you're going to use. You're going to go ahead and create a session on that loopback adapter. Now we have one running. It's got a name and a session ID. It's green. We're good to go. We'll exit out of here. And next we want to go to Network Protocols. Under Network Protocols, we need to configure MA to receive ArtNet. That's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be sending ArtNet data from Hog4PC to GrandMA. So under ArtNet, we need to change the mode from Output Auto to Input. That's just by right-clicking there. We also want to enable ArtNet Input Active. We also want Network DMX if alone to be active as well. We want these both to be yellow and active. The default settings should be fine for the rest of your ArtNet configuration. If you're working with more than 8 universes, you may need to change this number from 8 to something higher, though Hog4PC currently only allows, I believe, 12 universes of output. That being said, if you're working with more than 12 universes of output, you probably know what you're doing anyways. So we're going to go ahead and exit out of this now. And we need some lights to control. So before I hop into 3D, we're going to go ahead and just patch down one light for this example. I'm going to add a Verilight 3500 spot. We'll take just one of them and we'll leave it patched at 1.001. Great. Now we'll exit out of here. Save changes. Awesome. Now let's set up our connection to MA3D. So I'm going to go ahead and open MA3D. Now in MA3D, we want to go to File, Settings, go to Network, and we want to confirm that we're using the same IP address that we set up before. This 10.0.0.100. You might have a couple other options, but you want to make sure that's the one that's selected, and we hit OK. If you're changing the IP from something else, it'll probably have you restart the software, but that's just fine. Now we're going to go back into MA-on-PC. We're going to go to Setup. We're going to go into MA Network Configuration and hop over to 3D. We're going to add a 3D session and select the station that we have active, which is this one. Again, we should be showing the 10.0.0.100 IP. We're going to change session member to yes and user to administrator 1. Now, as soon as we do that, we should populate everything green, and we now have a connection. We can see in MA3D, our green heart is pulsing. That means we have a solid connection. And if we look, it's now pulled our patch information, and we now have our Verilight populated in 3D space. So we'll go ahead and move that up just so we can see it. Now we'll leave the 3D window down here, and we can honestly just dismiss the GrandMA software to a minimized window somewhere. All GrandMA2 is functioning as is a bridge between Hog4PC and MA3D. So we'll just minimize that for now. And now we can start working in Hog4PC. So I'll go ahead and launch this. Now I'll create a new show for you guys. Video example. Now it's important to note that right now I am working with a 1024 output license. This whole entire thing will not work unless you have a output dongle of some sort. Hog4PC will not output ArtNet, SACN, or another protocol without that. You can use Hog4PC with other visualizers without an output dongle with their connection driver, but you cannot use MA3D. Great, so now we have the software booted. The first thing I'm going to do is populate the patch the same exact way as it is in MA2. So I'm going to go to Setup, Patch, and again, I'll just add a Verilight 3500 spot. Did I add just one? Great. We're going to patch that to the only processor we currently have available. We should just have one DP8000. We're going to go ahead and hit OK and patch 1 to 1. Awesome. Now we're going to go ahead and set up the Hog network side of things. So we're going to go to Setup, Network, and we want to highlight our DMX processor and go to Settings. The first thing we're going to want to do is head into FixtureNet, and we just need to change this IP address to be something in the same range, but a different IP than what we're currently using for everything else. So we're going to make sure we're using a static IP, and we're going to change this to 10.0.0.101, and we'll go ahead and apply that change. Next, we're going to go ahead and head over to ArtNet output. Now, these settings should be pretty okay. You want to make sure that you're broadcasting on every universe. Your subnet should be 0, and your universes should be working sequentially from 0 downwards. The way ArtNet works is that the first universe is 0, not 1. So your first universe is 0, your second is 1, and so on and so forth. And the red X means that we're enabled. So we're going to go ahead and apply that. And as the very last thing, we want to make sure under DMX widgets that your licenses are enabled. This tripped me up for a while this morning. With all of those enabled, we're going to go ahead and hit cancel. Now, with everything set up, we have full control. We select our light, and you can see I have full intensity control down here in the 3D window. Confirm we have pan and tilt control. And let's do color for good measure. And that's all there is to it. So again, this will not work without an output dongle, and unfortunately there is no native connector driver support between Hog4PC and MA3D. Though the ETC Nomad student license is a very affordable option if you have an educational relationship. And yeah, the very important things to note are that your patch is the exact same in MA on PC as it is for Hog4PC. That needs to be 100% similar. You can also do these steps out of order. You can come with a fully finished Hog4PC file with the patch complete and then just create your patch in MA. Or you could come with a complete MA file from somebody else and then just create a Hog show file for it. It doesn't necessarily matter. You just have to make sure that your network settings are completely set and ready to go before you start messing with any of your lighting software. If you open your lighting software before you set up your network settings, it'll latch on to different network interfaces and you're going to have a lot of trouble getting things to work. Thank you very much for your time. Feel free to email me or reach out via my website with any questions you might have, and thank you very much.